Hullin Daf Nun Amud Aleph 11 lines down. Hanabata says, Rabban Shimon Gamil Beneme Ayin Shnekavu Velehas Susamtan Keshrav, intestines punctured and fluid seals them is kasher. My leha, what type of fluid? Markana, Shirkad Ma'ayadna Fik Agav Duhaka. It's the sticky fluid inside the intestines which only comes out when it's like squeezed out. So that's a good seal. Gimiri Habad Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Abba. The friends of Rabbi Abba learned from Rabbi Abba. Mano, who's that? Rabbi Zera. Amela Habreda Rabbi Zera, but Rabbi Zera. Some says Rabbi Zera's friend. Mano, who's that? Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Hiya, Barabba, Hachi Amar. Rabbi Hiya, Barabba, Rabbi Yochanan. They all said, all that was to bring them in front of Alacha. Alacha Kirajbag, Betrefa, Alacha Kirbishmon Be'avel. Alacha, according to Rajbag, regarding Terefa, and Alacha, according to Rabbi Shimon, regards to mourning. MOUR. Halacha kashbag, terefa halacha that we just mentioned regarding the juice of the intestines. Kirashbi Shimon be'avel mayim. What's the halacha of Shimon by morning? The Talmud Mishnah says, Kol shayamim ha'shirim, for the first 3 days of mourning, someone passed away by a non-relative, and you did not know the death when he died. Ba makom karov monei lehen. If he comes from a nearby place within a day's journey, he counts the 7 days of Shiva with them. He don't have to make up the days he missed. Makom nahok monei last month. He finds out after moving from a far place. Then he finds out he has to do his own Shiva 7 days. After, from then on, even if he arrived after the first 3 days of Shiva, if he comes from another, he counts his own wish. But even on the seventh day, the last day of Shiva, if he comes from a nearby place, he still counts with the other mourner's last day. So in regard to this halacha, we hold like Rabbi Shimon against Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Amar man hu damar. Someone said, we don't know the name. Is Kiva Esef Gemara Lishmatan and put it in Mara. I want to, and hopefully I have the zechut to go to Eretz Israel to hear from Rabbi Abba himself. Kisalik, when he went to Ashkelon, Rabbi Abba, the Bered Rabbi Baraba, he found him. Male Amar Mor Halachak Rishbag B'Trefa. Is it true that you said that Halacha is according to the Rishbag by Terefa? Male Ha En Halacha. He said no. I said it's not like him. Rabbi Shimon Be'evamahi. He was like, okay, what about the Halacha by the morning? We hold like Rabbi Shimon. Male Tanin is Machoket. The date Mar Fezda Mar Halacha. V'Hena يرحمك على الرحمن لا خلاص مخلوق بنا بيقول like ما حاجة رجبك بتلفان. And the story is that we now hold like رجبك بتلفان ولا حاجة بيش ما يبقى by other and we hold like بيش one regarding the morning. I'm much more says that حاجة تدري هم كذا we always go according to the opinion regarding it. Amar of Shimi Bahia. Makefim Bibnei Ma'ayin, we compare a puncture in the intestines to a new puncture to see when this puncture happened. And Bibnei Ma'ayin that took made about a certain intestine that had a puncture in it, they brought to Rabbah for halacha. Hakfinu V'lo, he compared it to other ones and they weren't similar. Seemingly the first ones happened before Shahita. Atal Mishash Mishresh Ba'hu Be'admo. His son came, rubbed new holes, and then it looked like they were small in the first ones. Amar Le so after you rub those new punctures, it's like the old ones. Like, how do you know that? He said, I just thought of myself. He's like, think about, because the reason why I did it is because think of how people touched the intestine before it came here. That's why I thought of it. Amar le Hakim Beri Telefot Rabbi Yochanan is like my son's as smart as Rabbi Yochanan regarding to Telefot. Rabbi Yochanan Beri Zayd Amri Tevel, because they both held Makifim Beri you compare a puncture in the lung to a new puncture. Implies the same lobe. But you can't compare from one row to the next row with different lobes. The halacha is I feel you can compare different rows. From a small animal to small animal, large to large. Not small to large or small. Sorry, large and small. Okay, fine, yeah. They will say, you compare a hole in the trachea to a new one to see if it happened before or after. That implies the same ring, the same band, which is 3 rings. We can't do separate bands. You can compare different bands from one partial or one band to the next partial, the next band. From what a band to a partial band and one band, partial band to a band. Meaning it has to be every band had 3 rings on it, so you can't compare partial to partial. If the rectum, the last part of the colon, is punctured, it's kasher. Because the hips cover it. How much is that included? Marbi Alai, Marbi Hanan, Makom Hadavek with a bow, a place where it's majority touching the hips. Shalom Makom Hadavek Maju, but it does not touch the hips, Taref, because it's open. I'm going to run become a Rabam from Rabbi Han Amar. La me Amin al didn't I already tell you before? Look, I don't listen to Nachman Buki Tzriki empty pictures, which means don't quote him things that he did not say. Hakim Rahman actually said, "Ma'akum ad-levek afilu tal kulo kasher." The rectum, even if it's completely missing, is kasher. V'hu nishtiyeh k'dei, so as long as it's enough to touch it, to grab it. The kama, how much is it? The marbra lemin kluma d'tatura, the width of a finger. As long as the piece of rectum is remaining the size of the finger, it's kasher. Hakeres pnimi, Mishnah said the inner pouch, the inner stomach, if it was punctured or removed, it's taref if it's punctured or a majority is torn. Marav. حين باشلا رشت فحد استفادة في النبي مشوم ببنتان. The chief shohet Sipor testified. Ezu kares name sanya dibi. What's the inner paunch? It's called the cecum, which is a type of it's uh it's the pouch right by the beginning of the intestines. It's only open in one way. That's why it's called the cecum, which means blind. So he argues and says, no, it's the stomach of the paunch. Rashi actually says, I don't know what that is. Rabbi Asi Amar B'Yochanan, Rabbi Asi says, Makom tsar yesh bakaras any izel. There's a narrow section by the paunch that's considered the inner paunch, while the rest of the paunch is considered the outer paunch. But Rashi said, I don't know which part is considered narrow. Nafal keresa bevira. He's like, the paunch fell into the pit, meaning you didn't explain anything. You just said, oh, it's like this, but I don't know what it is. It's like a It's from the point where it starts narrowing and downward by the esophagus. Re'achov ben Amar b'shmuel makom she'en bo milat. Is referring to where there's no of those like hairy pieces by the lining. That's where the paunch begins. Rabbu Avina Amar gniva mefedrav. Tefach beveshet samuch lekares zui karet b'mit. The last hand size by the esophagus, tube next to the paunch, that's considered the inner paunch. Amr Maravat, different explanation in Beres Yisrael, Mashmeh de Beres Hanina, Kol HaKaretz Kulo Zuhi Karetz b'mit. The entire uh, paunch, that's the inner paunch. It's the meat that covers outside it. He says the mifrata. My mifrata, what's that? It's where the butchers it cut open. When they slice open the belly on the animal while it's hanging, that's considered the inner paunch. And they have like Rabba Ravuna, which is the mifrata part. What do we say with all halachot? How does Nahadrai only hold like this if there's so many other opinions? Since they all listen to Rabba Ravuna. So Rabbi Ravuna basically said that he argued against all the opinions. So because they have like Rabbi Ravuna, if there's a puncture anywhere in the bottom section of the paunch, it's automatically asur. Okay. With Rabbi Asi Amar Rabbi and how do you hold like Rabbi Ravuna who said that he doesn't know where it is? Amar like Kvar Pirsha Rabbi Avia. We said he already explained it. It's the narrowing part. But Rabbi Avina, how do you hold according to Rabbi Avina? He said the last hand's breadth, or the Bavel, Iris Israel, who says it's the entire paunch. How does Nadra argue against that? Amar lehani badai pligi. Just different opinion. Next part of Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Beirdala. Yehuda says the case of the large animal, measurement is a hand's breadth. Small animal, it's majority. Mar Rabbi Navina Hafed Mar Belazar. Log blag blag mash log tano should mean large animal, small animal, small animal. Allah kol shni krab batevach. Allah have a berubazi shishina bitlatevach. Any animal where a handbreadth of the outer paunch is torn and it's not considered majority, that's large animal. And if it's a majority and it's not a tevach, that is considered small animal. If it's majority and it's not a hand, for sure. The entire thing is considered torn if it's a majority. No, it's a little bit It's a tefach, and it's barely a majority. Martin عد مقدار tefach law that telefon. Maybe you would thought since it's tefach and it's so small, maybe it's not considered teref. Come on, therefore telling you this. Mar geniva mar be'asi. Nigdira besela terefah. A hole the size of a selah coin was cut out of the outer point to teref. She into them earth hamel ketefach. Because if it was stretched, if it was a straight line, it would be a tefach. Mar be'ahya. But abba, the geniva fashli begined the geniva that ambada and deva. Who was personally told by geniva by the river of Nadra, Besela Kishireya Temu Besela Terefa. If the circle holds the size of a sela, it's Chesher. If it's bigger than the sela, that's when it's Taref. The Kamei Sela was considered larger. You go in the Ayat Lat Keshet in a place, it's Taref. If it's there's three dates pits that can pass through the hole, that's considered larger than a sela. Bitsipab Beduhaka, if they are coated with fruit residue tightly, meaning slightly slippery, if it fits through slightly. Below tzipah beravcha, and if it's not coated with fruit residue, it could slip through easily. That's the size. Next part. Hemses ubeta kosot. If the animal's taref, if the omizum or the reticulum is punctured. To number 9. Ma hachin said ba'obi beta kosot. If a needle is found stuck in the thickness of the reticulum by the double wall there, mitzad echat kishlat, it's sticking out from one side, it's kasher. Mishasidim terefah, sticking out from both sides is taref. As long as it happened while the animal was alive. Nimtza alea kored dam. How do you know if it happened when it happened? If there's blood dripping out within the was, it must be happening before shechita. Lo nimtza alea kored dam. If blood was not found on it, must be happening after slaughtering the forced closure. Higlid pi hamaka. If a scab formed over the puncture wound, this happened 3 days before, and therefore technically it was already taref when you bought it. If you bought it before after that, you could return it. Lo haglid b'makav, there's no scab. Then you don't know when it happened, if it happened before or after you bought it, and therefore you have to. If you can't prove it, you can't get a refund. What's the difference in this case with all other punctures? More that there's no difference whether or not there's a blood stain. When it happened, there's nothing else to no other reason why they're bleeding. Here, in case of the needle. Because if the hole was there from before, the blood would have stuck to the needle. And therefore, that would be a proof, and that's why we're mentioning it over here.